If you're heading back to school soon, I do not want to talk to you about what to pack. I want to talk to you about how to set yourself up for a semester that actually feels good. Not just a semester where you survive or try to get through. A semester where you feel connected, grounded, and like yourself. And I want to give it to you in 5 easy tips that I want every college student to know before you go back. So hey everybody, I'm Ashley Mangione, executive functioning coach, former classroom teacher, published author, ADHD specialist, and a speaker. Welcome to my channel, Make the Connection. I work with students of all ages as well as adults, but I especially work with a lot of college students, both in person in my office in Charlotte, North Carolina, as well as over Zoom. So even though I work with students everywhere, I want all of my audience to know that these are the skills that determine whether your semester runs you or you run it. So let's get right into it. Here's tip 1. I know, I can already feel the eyes rolling. I want you to meet your professor. Within the first 2 weeks, go to office hours. Introduce yourself. You do not need a question prepared. You do not need a reason beyond just wanting them to know your name. Professors remember the students who showed up early, before there was a crisis, before a grade needed explaining. That relationship becomes a solid resource all semester long for clarification, for guidance, for a letter of recommendation down the road. And by the way, who actually gives you your grade? Who writes the test? Who is determining the projects? It's your professor. It's a relationship worth building. And just like my clients that I talk to through Zoom, or like I said, in person, I often get that look of, but I don't know what to say. As I've already discussed, you do not need to worry about what to say. You're just making an introduction. And if that feels uncomfortable, that's totally normal as well. But just because something feels uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not a good choice to make. And by the way, just a rule of life, the more we do what's uncomfortable, the more we get comfortable with it. Now, tip 2, I want you to reach out and make new friends through some type of shared interest group. I've said it before if you're following along on my channel, there are so many lonely people and not everybody wears a sign that says, hey, I'm lonely. So here's your little encouraging nudge right here. I want you to find one club, an intramural team, a campus ministry, any kind of interest group, environmental, political, within your first few weeks, and I want you to show up. Not because it needs to become your whole identity, but shared interest is the easiest low pressure way to meet people that you actually have something in common with. Friendships that are built around a shared activity do not require constant small talk in order to sustain themselves. You already have something to talk about. That takes an enormous amount of pressure off of making new friends. And we all need these connections. So this should go without saying, but step 3, start the semester with strong study habits. Now, the first 2 weeks set the tone for your entire semester. Decide now, before the workload piles up, when and where you study, and build that into your schedule like it is unmovable. Remember, the whole reason you're at college initially is because you are there to get an education. That becomes your top priority. Based on my experience, and you can see I have a little, students rarely fall behind all at once. It happens gradually. One skip study session at a time, one page assignment that we didn't read, until this gap starts to widen, and then it becomes that much harder to close. If you determine to build your strong study habits at the beginning of the semester, then it is far easier to have a smoother semester than to try to build study habits in week 8, especially after you're already behind. Now, I have to preface that by also saying that if you are watching this video further into your semester, it is never too late. but we've got to put strong systems and routines in place immediately at this moment to get back on track. Now, this might be one that you haven't thought of, or maybe you think it is something basic, but still the majority of people don't do it. I want you to introduce yourself to at least one new person this week. Not only do I want you to introduce yourself to them, I want you to take it a step further, and I want you to invite them to do something. I know it feels a little uncomfortable for many of you, but again, remember, I'm very concerned about our lonely generation that we're dealing with. And what I find is that a lot of people are very welcoming to that invitation. I know it can feel very vulnerable, but I know it also feels like a big ask. I promise you, it can really be worth it. Pick one person in a class, your dorm, a club meeting. Introduce yourself, be very warm and friendly, and then take it one step further, like I said. Ask them to grab coffee, go have a meal, sit out on the lawn, join you at a club meeting, or go to an exercise class or go for a walk together. I get it. This is the step that most people will tend to skip because it does feel especially vulnerable and maybe even a little uncomfortable. But friendships in college rarely just happen by accident. They happen because someone was willing to make the first move. It does not have to be smooth. It just has to be genuine. And by the way, this is a life skill for even after college. You see, right now in college, you generally have at least one thing in common. You're a student. But the skill set is a transfer skill for the rest of your life when maybe things aren't as clear cut about what you are and what path you're on. Friendships are there for a lifetime, and we have to be skilled at making them. Now, here I am in tip 5, and I'm not trying to be your mom. Or maybe I am because I have 3 adult children. But I do want you to stay true to your values. Don't just follow the crowd. You have heard that advice likely your entire life. But up until this moment, you've also had some type of parameter around you, typically in some type of family structure. Now, you're somewhat on your own, and it's even more important that you know what your value set is and that you are determined to stick to them. That's part of self-awareness, which is an executive functioning skill. And that once you know what you value, that you stick to that so that you do not get sucked into college peer pressure. This conversation actually deserves a lot of weight because college will hand you 100 small moments where it is 1,000% easier to go along with whatever the group is doing than to pause and ask yourself if it actually fits who you are and what you believe. You do not need to make a big announcement about your values. You simply need to check in with yourself regularly enough to notice when you may be drifting from them. The friends worth keeping are the ones who respect you for staying grounded in who you are, not the ones who need you to blend in to feel comfortable. The version of you that walks onto that campus in week 1 should still recognize herself in week 15. And I don't mean being inflexible in our thinking. Obviously, college is a huge growth opportunity, but I just am talking about being rooted in our value set. The truth of the matter is I've worked with so many college students, and most that started college never intended to wreck their life, to fail out, to make decisions that their families wouldn't be proud of or that they themselves are not proud of. That's why I want you to start out with as much success as possible. And I want you to bring all these things that we think we know and pull it right back into our memory where we can hold it and give it a little thought. Here's part of the great news. None of these 5 things require you to be the most outgoing person in the room. They just require you to be a little bit brave. A handful of times at the start of this semester. Meet your professor, find your people with those shared values, build your study habits early, make the first move with someone new, and stay true to who you are. Do those 5 things, and this semester has a real chance of being the one where you actually feel like yourself, connected and in control of your own experience. And if you want extra support building these skills before you head back or once you return to the college campus, please visit www.dynamiclearningconnection.com or follow me along on Instagram at Dynamic Learning Connection as well. I'm always providing real skills for real life, for real change. I'll see you every Tuesday, and until then, I wish you the best.